there's so much to talk about in that, but the one thing that I think is important to pick out of that is the power of fear. And one thing I've learned as a recovering addict is there is so much beauty when I don't live in fear. Most of crazy things that I used to do was because deep down inside I felt like I didn't have a safe space, that I was unloved, or if I was loved, I didn't believe I was loved, and that I needed to be perfect. And that's one thing that I've seen in work culture in general is bosses, managers, expecting their employees to be perfect. Yet, that's what you said, expecting the boss being this kind of God where if you don't listen to me or if you try to do something better than me, oh, I don't like that idea. I do it this way. Instead, you're saying, no, I'm flexible because I'm not always right. And that's the beauty of humility, is knowing that you're not always right and being open. And sometimes you're like, I'm not right. Turned out the other person wasn't right either. And there's love and grace around there. But it's hard to feel safe, whether as an employee or even as an employer, when you don't have grace, when you're not operating out of grace. And I don't mean that from even a spiritual sense. I just mean in terms of allowing people to make mistakes. In fact, incorporating a farm business in a way where you're allowed to make mistakes on a business level, where if something happens, you know what, we didn't expect it, but we already planned for it. We got a budget for it, for broken items or lost items that you still can't find because they're out in the field somewhere. If there's a flat tire, I have a budget for maintenance repairs on vehicles and equipment, stuff like that. So I think even incorporating that on a quantitative sense can provide qualitative experiences and examples. So just thank you for being someone who operates out of grace and humility, because that's very hard to find. For people who are working a 9-to-5 job, hard to see that. Hard to see that even in my life when I deal with other people. But one thing I've learned is when I show grace to folks, they appreciate me more. They're like, wait, you're not mad at me for doing that thing? You're actually giving me a second chance? What? And then I believe, builds loyalty, builds confidence. Oh, I can fail and not get fired the next day. Like, it's okay to fail as long as I'm learning. There's a difference between just failing for the sake of failing and continuing to fail versus failing, learning, and improving. And I do think even sometimes, especially when folks are trying to figure out farm employees or future farm leaders, I might not be the right farm for you. Whether your own individual personalities just doesn't mix no matter how much grace you can show, or there might not be at a level of maturity, or the farmer, you might not be at a level of maturity. So I just love that you brought that up, because so many people have been hurt from bosses, managers, which is why you have a lot of people who are exiting out of big cities to go do homesteading and stuff like that.